Hello and welcome to another episode of the Women's Rugby Pod. Episode 114, and the band is back together. We have Red Roses captain, recently crowned Grand Slam champion, back-to-back champion, MBE, Sarah Hunter, and of course, World Cup winner Rachael Burford. How are we, guys? Enjoying the nice weather over the weekend?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Johnny. It's nice to get the sunshine. Obviously, we were down at Bristol Bears on the weekend, which was an awesome occasion. The result or not, having 4,000 people there at a domestic game again was excellent. And then, Sunday was lovely. How about you?
Yeah, well, right, thank you. Yeah, out in the sun, bit burnt on Sunday. Out in the sun, having a couple of beers. Celebrating our end of season. But Sunter, how are the ribs? I mean, you've had some good news since we last spoke to you. Obviously, another championship under the belt. Got a new house, but a few broken ribs. So give us an update. How's everything?
Yeah, really good. Obviously, it wasn't how I wanted to finish the tournament. Breaking 3 ribs. Apparently, you can't play rugby doing that. And they're healing well. Just don't make me laugh, cough, or sneeze, and I'll be all right. And yeah, it was amazing to be out there with the girls in France. You know, to still be part of the team and see them do so well in that final game, and yeah, to be there to lift the trophy was pretty cool. Back to reality come back to Loughborough, like getting the keys to a house, realising how much work there is to be done on it. So yeah, it feels like Six Nations was months ago now.
Well, it is only just off the back of it. Look, today's pod, we got the band back together. We've got Prem 15s to look at. Obviously, really, really exciting time of the season. Results, some going well, some going not so well, with present company included. We'll look ahead to see how that top 4 is going to break down. Got some international news as well. Sevens, news from New Zealand, France, South Africa as well. But first, you'd be remiss if we didn't speak to you, Sunter, about lifting another Grand Slam title. What was France like the whole occasion, and obviously lifting the title again?
France was incredible, you know. Like, it's one of the best places, I think, to go and play. The atmosphere is incredible. It's just so hostile, but I think you really thrive on it. And the Super Saturday was no different. You know, as the girls are walking back into the change rooms, you just the walk past the main stand, and like the booing was like probably the worst I've ever heard it. But the girls were like loving it, and Midge was there going, "That's what it means. You've already got into their head." All this sort of stuff. So I think they really lived on it.
So when we were up in Coventry, you saw both teams had obviously finished their warm-up, and then they started to walk down this tunnel, and the tunnel was really, really small. And you see the French start to like pick up the pace, start walking a bit quicker. Then England start walking a bit quicker, and then Skaz is like, "Come on, start running!" And then all of a sudden, both teams are trying to fight their way to be first down this little tunnel. And it was like, right, game is on. Shots have been fired already. Both teams trying to get one over each other just on getting through the tunnel.
Yeah, it was class. And that kind of probably stood the game in for where it was going to go after that. And it was like it was a proper physical encounter. Like being on the side, you just like some of the shots going in, and especially the forwards in terms of the way, like a lot of it was that upfront battle. But yeah, I think it like stood up to sort of what you want in terms of a final of a Six Nations and a Grand Slam decider. And yeah, the girls did amazingly well.
Berth and I, whether you listened or not, but speaking about in England and possibly lacking a fluidity. Certainly down that back line, yeah, individual brilliance is quite clearly there, and physical dominance across the 23 is what's winning you games pretty much at the moment. But there was a moment in France when they went to the corner and took a driving line out and went nowhere, and then the first time you did it, and they stopped you to begin with, and then just somebody went bang bang, we'll pop down another gear. Poof. And that kind of summed up the tournament for me. How impressed have you been with the physicality of your charges?
Oh, like it's been next level, and I think Alex Martin's been a huge part to play in that, like strength and conditioning coach in terms of what he wanted to do when he came in and how he wanted to train. But I think they've kind of ramped that up since the autumn, which we didn't think was possible. And you do find new ways to like raise the level and to go again. And I think like we thrive on playing like those test matches against France, but I think what we probably forget is that every week throughout the Six Nations we're doing that against each other. So like we'll have like a really physical Wednesday, which is like playing like a kind of game. It's not obviously not an 80-minute game or anything, but you go in like hammer and tong against one another. So actually I think it's to make sure that in those moments, like you said, Johnny, in finals of games, actually we're ready and we have got another level to go to when it really does matter.
Berth, what did you make of England? Look, we did the team of the Six Nations, and you know, not too much abuse, which is quite nice. Donna Rose, should have mentioned her more. Anyway, that's my only regret. But we didn't talk a huge amount about the performances and what have you with Ali and Sarah last week. But what did you make of England? Because you know, for me, France was the only game you can really properly analyse and look at England. All due respect to the others, but if you've got a dominant scrum, dominant line out, you're going to beat the other teams. What did you make of England against France?
Yeah, I think they problem solved as they went along. I think France let them off on occasion. A number of times they got themselves into such a great position, but just, I think Ali said it last week, they just weren't ever ruthless enough to really take all those chances. And, you know, you do wonder where that game could have gone had Boulard's break turned into a try, had they maybe taken a couple of opportunities where it made it a little bit tighter from England. But yeah, I think set piece wise, they're a very well-oiled machine. You know, no matter how much analysis you can do against it, it still becomes one of the weapons of England, especially their driving line out. I think in attack, I think there's still more to come. I think we've kind of seen the same throughout the Six Nations of what England can deliver there. It's like, how do you unleash that amount of talent in your side? But I think that the level that Sarah Hunter's talking about in terms of S&C and the physicality and the physical attributes that every single England player has is, you know, steps ahead their opposite number. And I think we said that the week before, Johnny, about if you used to put pen to paper, player for player, France, you know, England are outdoing all of those players. And I think that's been a real mark of the work that they've done off the pitch, this dreaded PPP that they do every week on a Wednesday, which is basically a game, if not worse than a game. And they play beyond, they train and play beyond a level of test match rugby. And that's why in every single game, didn't always have the best start, but they always came good. And being able to be that ruthless and that level of physicality and fitness, they are streaks ahead of everybody. Where they need more is in that attack. They need to have some other variation, because if suddenly you're reliant just on that driving maul and that gets figured out by an opposition, then where do you go?
Interesting to get your reaction to that, Sunter, because it's a sort of conversational piece that Berth and I have had, you know, the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. And it's not, you know, you're winning by cricket scores. Yeah, this is, you know, we're talking the minutiae here of this team. But I know what high standards you and Mid set the group. I
think like Berth's analysis and reflections are like spot on, and like obviously you enjoy the win and you don't want to like take away from winning like a fourth like Six Nations in a row, but there are things that like we didn't get right against France, and I do think the attack part is probably certainly something that we do need to work on. And I think our consistency of like you say, Berth, like in a lot of games we didn't start well, and then but second half we do that and we kick away and we put on a much better second half performance. But like against sort of the teams that you're going to be playing in World Cups and potentially semi-finals and World Cup finals, like you might not get away with that. So we've got to find and understand like how do we start games better, like how are we more consistent throughout a game, like how do we unlock our attacks. Like you say, we've got like some like amazing backs. Like, have we seen enough of them? Have we had to see enough of them? Because if we've gone a corner, we've got a penalty, scored a more, like, then you take that opportunity away from them. So yeah, I think but then you look at the game against Wales, and we had a maul played off it, Just Breach scores on the edge, and it's like, how do we connect more, and how do we just like have different variations, so we keep asking the opposition questions of like what's coming next, rather than we're kicking to the corner, which is great. Like, it's an amazing weapon to have, and we like pride ourselves on it. But for whatever reason, like for one game, it, like you say, it doesn't go well. Well, what's plan B? What's plan C? Like, actually, can we change it up? So they think we're doing this, but we're doing something else. So yeah, I do think there is certainly areas for us to work on, and I think we probably are our harshest critics, because like some of the girls were already starting to talk about, well, they haven't done this or they haven't done that, and it's like, look, we've just won a Grand Slam, enjoy the night, and then we'll pick that up. Like, there's time to review it and get like critical with one another in terms of how we take that game on to the next level. But for the minute, just enjoy that we've won a Six Nations.
Finally, on the sort of Six Nations, sort of specifically, do you feel that's 10 in a row against France now? And obviously the relevance is the last time you're going to play them before the World Cup pool match. Do you feel you have an edge over them when you're out there face to face?
I think I wouldn't have known it was 10 in a row against them. So I guess like for us, and this is like the boring, like, and it's definitely not like the PC answer, but it's true. Like, you take them on that game alone. Like, I think especially with France, there's such a side where you don't know what's going to come out. You don't know how they're going to play. Like Berth said, if they'd converted like one or two of their chances, it could be a different game. And that can happen. So we've got to be prepared that France will come out. We can't turn up and be like, oh, we've beaten them 10 times in a row. Like, we're going to win this game. You get to a World Cup and then it's like a different level as well. Like, it's a different like focus, it's a different mindset. So I wouldn't say that it's a given at all. Like, we're going to have to play well against them to get that win in the pool stages. And who knows what might come after that, depending on how everything else works.
Big tick from Emily Lyles. Well done, Sunter. Very straight back. Berth, you're out there. And before your outrageous partying, which you've heard more than enough about, the peak figures on BBC Two was 723,000, a further 141,000 watching on the iPlayer. Even you, a champion within the game, are you surprised at just the impact this Six Nations has had?
I guess yes, but not that it's not warranted to have that impact, because of the product is so good and we know that there's the appetite. But I guess we've mentioned it before, how we've all been saying and wanting the game to be put on this platform and at this level, and we believe in it and all of this jazz, and now we're just in it. And I think that does take you by surprise that we're here now and we're really building the momentum, and it literally feels like it's kind of come out of nowhere. But I think you have to give credit to the Allianz Premier 15s and what that's been doing over the last 2 years. Even during COVID, we were still getting the games, and now it's on BBC, etc., etc. And I just think, this has been, I said it right at the start of Six Nations, this absolutely feels like a new dawn to the Six Nations, to women's rugby, completely in its own window, having its own rights, its own platform to perform on. And it has been so successful. And, that was even with dates coming out quite late, venues coming out quite late, so you think of all of that, and you think of, France expecting to have a stadium built but wasn't quite built. So you think of all the bumps that still happened this Six Nations, but yet we've still got viewing figures like that. We've still got sold out stadiums. We've still got people now, wanting to know what's going on next year so they can get involved. There's this real kind of buzz and following around the women's game. And I think that, it's wonderful to, remember my first Six Nations game. At St Albans with maybe 100 people watching, to where it is now. And since that was your first cap, I think, against Scotland, and then to where it is now, where I was in a great position where I got to see everything, have a full kind of arena look at everything, and just it's remarkable and it's so wonderful. But like I said, there's been bumps, everything's not been perfect yet, and there's still so much more to grow.
Could not agree with you more. Still plenty to do on the broadcast side. Even still sponsors reluctant, that kind of stuff.
I just want to pick up on that. Like, people talk and ask, obviously winning a Six Nations, and another one is it's brilliant, and I've absolutely loved it, and it's amazing to continue. But for me, I look back on the Six Nations and just there's moments where I've running out at Kingsholm and had to take a moment and gone wow, and it's almost taken your breath away. The fact that what was it, 15,000 people, and the atmosphere was incredible. And I completely agree with Beth. I think this is a huge turning point, and for me, the exciting thing is I feel like this is the minimum. Everything from here is going to get better and better, and I think that's what I look back on. Yes, I've won a Six Nations and it's amazing, and that's a performance thing. But for the game as a whole, this has been something real special, and I feel again, it's everything that we sit here and we talk about, but it just seems that finally the rest of the world are waking up and realizing what we've been trying to do for years and years and years, and now they're gone, right, this is women's rugby, it's amazing, we're going to get behind it, and we're going to keep pushing it on. And that, I think this is what I'll take from the Six Nations. I think people will look back and go, do you remember 2022? It's almost like a turning point.
Yeah, well, 100%, and we need to keep pushing. What the very last point before we move on was just something that Ali Donnelly's mentioned, and as we say, this kind of watershed kind of moment. Sarah Burns kind of alluded to it as well on social media about this is the last tournament where there are amateur teams involved. Do you think that's true? And so to you, really, do you realise just how much the Red Roses are pushing the game? Do you get a grasp of that responsibility? Is it ever spoken about?
I think it has to be the last Six Nations. You look at some of the things that have happened where you're playing an international one day and the next day you're back in work, and yet we're off recovering, and you just feel like the unions have to get behind their players if they really do care about the women's game, and they really do want to take it to that next level they keep saying about, and how they want to invest in their women's game. That they've got to put their money where their mouth is. They unions are starting to do it. You look at Wales, and yes, there probably needs to be more, but they've made a step. Italy have made a step. Everyone has to take a step to go, this is what we're doing, we're investing, and we're going to make our women's teams professional. If we really want to take this game to the next level, we have to. And I think as England, we've always, when we got that, we talk about the responsibility that we have as professional players, and about what professionalism now means and what we have to do for that and for the game. So it's not something we take lightly, and I think hopefully with what we're doing and how we're trying to play the game, and where we are trying to do that, but we're given every opportunity to do that as players. We're given that support. It makes our life easy to do that. You're asking your Irelands, your Scotlands of this world to do that while still having a full-time job, and it's just not right in this day and age.
Here. Good soapbox stuff from the England captain. Let's move on. We've got to move on. There's Prem 15s to get through. But first, we're just going to touch on a little bit of the international news in the last 7 days.
I'm Shani Williams, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Starting off with the Black Ferns coaches, Wayne Smith, Wesley Clark and Whitney Hanson have named a 31 player in a squad for the Pacific 4 series hosting Australia, Canada and USA next month. This is including Ruby Tui, who will be set to get her first cap, but it also includes 7 uncapped players.
Yeah, you can see Ruby Tui in there. It's obviously a 7-star. You know her well, Berth. Do just born to shine in any code of rugby, any sport, any walk of life, in fact, really, isn't she?
Yeah,
Great.
she's got plenty of good energy around her, and she's not shy to show any of it. So yeah, she set a goal out to give herself an opportunity to wear a black Ferns jersey in the 15s. She's obviously done so much in the 7s, and now stepping over to the 15s world.
Indeed, so over the Tasman, the Wallaroos have unveiled their first Nations jersey, set to be worn during their clash with Japan. That's this week. The jersey is designed by Noongar artist Senatella Walsh, depicting the connection between women and their spirit.
Staying in Australia, on Friday at the Suncorp Stadium, the Wallaroos have celebrated ending their 956-day Test match drought with an impressive 36-19 defeat of Fiji in Brisbane. Denied a chance to play a test since 2019 because of COVID-19, the Australian women's side, captained by Shannon Parry, scored 7 tries to Fiji's 3 and will now face Japan on Tuesday, the 10th of May.
Fiji, I mean, you see them in the Super W just romp home with some, I don't know how much you guys saw of it, but just some unbelievable rugby. They're a real threat in the World Cup, aren't they?
Yeah, we've got them in our pool as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're a bit of an unknown, aren't they, in terms of like their 15-a-side team, but if they're anything like their 7s, and now we're getting some footage. They've obviously played Australia. I think Canada are going over there to maybe play them as well. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more insight in terms of how they're going to play, which will hopefully help us out when we do face them in the pool stages.
And over to some 7s actions. The HSBC World 7 Series was in Langford, Canada, where Australia were crowned champions, beating the returning New Zealand 21-17 in a thrilling final. Ireland took the bronze, defeating France 22-14. But this also means that Australia were crowned the series title as well.
And good for that series title berth. I mean, obviously that's Fiji and New Zealand haven't been there, so that will, I mean, for some people that has an asterisk, but proved with the victory over New Zealand in that final that they are the best 7s team in the world at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it really kind of, stood out for them. They were actually crowned the series champions. I think it was in before the quarters, so that all they had to do is get through and one team had to go out, and it made them the champions, and they could have just easily have set off. So for them to go on and win that championship kind of shows the mentality, and that they've got that championship winning team with them. Obviously, Tim Walsh is back with them this season, back to his winning ways, and kind of sets them up nicely for what's coming in September with the Rugby World Cup.
I mean, we were at Dubai and we're out in Spain, weren't we? And just the togetherness of not just the women, but the 7s, Australia 7s as a group are so together. Whenever the women are playing, the blokes are watching. When the blokes are playing, the women are watching. There's just a real togetherness in everything they're doing, and very good for their series title. But during all of that, Portia Woodman scored her 200th series try. She is a phenomenal finisher, isn't she? And if you haven't seen, wonderful respect from her teammates, did her a haka as she came back into the dressing room, which of course in tradition she replied with a haka of her own. It's yes, I was chopping onions at the time.
Yeah, it's I love watching what they do and how they celebrate as a group and the culture that they have. But just a word on Portia Woodman, the torrid injuries that she's had, to then come back and just be world class. I think the first time she touched the ball, she got on the outside and scored. And I think it was actually against England, so that was a bit heartbreaking. Yet again, as Sunter will remember the tour away. I won't go into that again. But yeah, she's just a phenomenal player, and I love how the girls really celebrate those kind of things within their group. They all had T-shirts with her printed on them to celebrate, an incredible story of her as an individual. And you've seen that time and time again within that squad. And I just love that kind of real family feel that they have, and they really care about one another and want to celebrate the successes that they've earned.
I'm Emma Mitchell, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
The Premier 15s had its penultimate round at the weekend. Let's just go through the results, the facts and figures for you. Exeter Chiefs 54, Saracens 12, Gloucester Hartpury 36, Wasps 7, Sale Sharks 57, DMP 5, and Worcester Warriors beat Loughborough Lightning 34-24. Bristol Bears 28, Harlequins took the win, scoring 43 points. So have a quick look back at those. Are you surprised at the Exeter Saracens result?
Do you know what? I didn't think that Saracens were going to beat them. They are tough to beat away from home, but when you've got three hugely pivotal players away, I did think that they were going to struggle. And, you know, even with those three players, you know, does that mean that 50 points wouldn't have been scored? Would it have been the difference? Potentially not, but it would have been a closer game. But yeah, no, I don't think, you know, Exeter haven't been disrupted at all. If you think of their player pool, they've been able to continue with their momentum, had the same team week in, week out. Even in the cup game, they didn't do any rotation with any of their wider squad or anything like that. They kept their first team out there. So they've had the consistent team moving forward. So I did kind of expect Exeter to win that game, but probably not by that margin.
Gloucester Hartbury beating Wasps. I mean, both squads full of talent. What have you made of Wasps, who failed to get to the top four, and Gloucester, in fact, as well, Sunter?
I think Wasps have had probably quite a bit of disruption through injury, through people being available. They've obviously got quite a lot of sevens players in their back line who haven't been around for all the games, and I guess that's the choice you take when you have them involved in your squad, isn't it? About when they're going to be around. You throw in, like, they've got quite a few Irish players who have been in and out. Like injuries as well. So I think they've probably had quite a bit of disruption to their squad. Having said that, they've still got a squad that's probably capable of like being in the top four. So I think they'll be disappointed, very similar to ourselves. And Gloucester have been that team that will probably look back in this season and be frustrated because they've lost numerous games in the last couple of minutes or the last play of the game against some of the top four sides, which if they'd won those, does that make their season look very different to what it's going to be? But I think for them to get that win against Wasps, they'll go to DMP this weekend and they'll finish their season on a high. But I think when they do a review of it, they'll look back and be disappointed with some of those games, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I just think for Wasps, unless they have Meg Jones playing in their team, they really struggle. And I think that's an area that they've got to work out for them next year. Who's going to be that kind of feel if Meg's playing away sevens or not? But yeah, they'll be hugely disappointed their first year not being in the top four, not being an opportunity to be in playoffs. And like Sunter said, they've got enough talent in that squad to be in the top four.
Yeah, and we talk about Meg Jones there. I'm just going to throw in another, Kate Older, who has literally been a rock since the beginning of time for them. She's away with her newborn Bubba, of course, far more important. But her absence, I think, has had a huge effect on that Wasp squad. Sale got their second win over DMP. I think earlier in the season we would expect them to win, but not by the kind of margin, 57-5, Beth. That's a good result for Katie.
Yeah, Katie would be really chuffed with that. I think we all know where DMP are as a group, but Sale Sharks have kind of had an inconsistent year, putting out some good performances. We've talked about them only having really a 40-minute performance, the majority of the games, and teams being able to put them away in second half. So for them to be able to finish the game out, full 80-minute performance and put that number of tries on, that's the other thing. It's like you can win games, but how you win them and what variation you have. And, so that gives them great confidence going into the final game this weekend.
So to then on to your game, we have said on this podcast before that we didn't expect Worcester to get top four, but they were going to affect who was in the top four. Just take us through that result and the feelings off the back of it.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a cliche, but it certainly was a game of two halves. We were probably in complete control in the first half, went in ahead at half time, and like you always know from the performance Worcester have had and when we played them at home, that they were going to come out and they were going to come out fighting. Like a Joe Yaps team doesn't roll over and doesn't give in, and what they've built throughout the season and the players that they've got and come together, that we knew the second half was going to be difficult. But I think the manner in which it was probably disappointing for Loughborough, and obviously didn't get the win there. So and then it probably just like is a real example of how our season's been. You know, like we've had some great games, like beating Bristol, beating Exeter. Yeah, we've lost in games we should have won, and we had that like pretty tough start at the beginning of the season where there's some real results that we kind of probably just rolled over a little bit too easily, and it probably just sum up in a performance how the season's been. Worcester did so, and now in this league you've got to be consistent to be in that top four. So yeah, it probably is where we deserve to be, which is disappointing because the players that we have, if we have them and consistently play, then like we should be in the top four with the squad that we have and are able to play when we turn up.
Yeah, fifth win for Joe Yaps Worcester Warriors side, up to 30 points. You on 46, so still a way to go for Worcester, but as we said before, I think they're going in the right direction. And then your victory at Bristol, as you said at the top there, Berth, great occasion, over 4,000. Congratulations to everyone at Bristol Bears for doing that. And just that sort of follow on from the Six Nations, isn't it? Great occasion, but I suspect overshadowed by your performance and just how impressed you were with your Chargers.
Yeah, I think it was, a bit of a nervy week, probably for a lot of teams where they've got all their players coming back in. You've got minimum amount of time to have a session together, get some, get that team cohesiveness back together. And you got one session before going into such a big game for us at the weekend. But yeah, mega proud of how we played throughout the whole game, how we defended. It was an incredible atmosphere, really impressive, to see now, another club pulling out kind of those kind of crowds. Like they've done really well at Shaftesbury Avenue, always filling out numbers there, but the capacity is not that great. So it shows that they've built a following, which was awesome. And, they also dug deep. They got their bonus point, which then again secured them the opportunity to be in the semi-finals. So, but I think it was just like great rugby, both sides, both teams pulling out some absolute worldie of tries, variation within it. It was a beautiful sunny day and it was kind of, just what you want. But yeah, mega proud for what we've done. We now put ourselves into that position where a few people have probably written us off, not thinking that we'd make that top four, with, the likes of other teams, nipping at the heels. But yeah, mega proud and kind of that bit of relief, I guess, from the squad to have secured the semi-final place. But we know that we need to be better. We know that we've got a tough game this weekend to focus on now. But yeah, all in all, really, really a great day. Like I know the result for Bristol didn't go their way, but they played really well. They got plenty out of it. And again, the showcase of what they did, 4,000 people watching a domestic women's game on a Saturday afternoon when there's plenty of other things people could be off doing. They filled it out, and it was an incredible and a great stadium to play in, and hopefully they'll play more games there.
Yeah, indeed so. And it just looks so much better. Cameras at a decent height and all the rest of it. That then concludes our top four. Top four is done and dusted. Where they finish, Saracens are top, we know that. They are on 72 points, so they're definitely at home. Then it's the fight out for the other home semi-final. Exeter on 61 and Quins and Bristol on 60. Bristol getting that bonus point against your Harlequins, Berth. Quins on 12 wins, Bears on 11. This weekend, then, it's interesting, isn't it? Though, the psychology of it, isn't it? Are you particularly bothered about being at home, Berth? Let's just run through the fixtures before we do that. All Saturday, 2 p.m. According to the website. DMP hosts Gloucester Hartbury. Bristol travel to Fellow. St. Francis Exeter. Loughborough host Harlequins, while Wasp and Sale travel to Saracens and Worcester, respectively. Are you bothered whether it's home or away at semi-final time, Bev?
I think naturally of course, you'd want a home semi-final. We'd love to be running out the soup and having all of our fans there. But I think ultimately you want to be in top four, wherever that's being played. You just want that opportunity. And, we fancy ourselves at home and we also fancy ourselves away. So whatever comes out of it from this weekend, we'll be ready.
And your psychology on the other side of that, then, so you're busy preparing without sneezing, laughing, and coughing.
I think Berth's right. I think ultimately the goal is to get into top four, and it'll motivate people in different ways depending on who they get in the semi-final, depending on what's happened during the season. If they've, I don't know, been at home and they've lost to that team, they'll want to do better. If they've gone away, they've won away, and they've got confidence from there, or they've gone and want to make a difference. I think there's so much different psychology you can apply depending on what that fixture is and whether you're at home or away. You can spin it so many different ways to work for you, but ultimately, the biggest goal is to perform well to get into that final. So
do Exeter and Bristol, do they go full bore with your coach's hat on? Do they go full bore this weekend? Bristol 60 points, Exeter 61, Harlequins at Loughborough. You expect, if you're a betting man and trying to be nice here, you suspect on the form of the Harlequins are been away at Bristol, but there's some bounce back ability, no doubt, with Loughborough. But you suspect the Harlequins might win that game. Oh my God, treading on eggshells. But do Exeter and Bristol properly go for it this weekend? Would it be that important to them, or would you say, well, let's rest up? It doesn't matter.
Nah, I think they have to. I think they could face each other the following week. I think you've got to try and get some momentum going into that semi-final as well. So I think I personally don't think they can go, do you know what? We'll just put change our team, we'll rest people, we'll look to the semi-final. I think you've got to go in with some form of momentum into that semi-final.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're going to want to have combinations right. You're going to want to try things out. You're going to want to fix things that didn't work last weekend. And also it's those top 2 inches, those, we beat you or you beat us, that, you want to have that in the back of your mind, what they've done. And I think Bristol will be quite wounded at what happened last weekend, and they'll want to make amends for it. And, you love beating teams away from home, probably more so than you do at home. So they're going to have that mentality going in against Exeter. And it's about laying a marker about, who's going to be going into those semi-finals with, the favour on their back, that people are going to be thinking, after that performance, I can't see them not winning this semi-final.
I think it's great, that we're having this conversation. How many years have we had the Prem 15s and the top 4's been decided, the order's been decided probably about 5 weeks ago, whereas until last weekend, we didn't know who was going to be in the top 4. This weekend, we don't know who's going to get a home semi-final, who's going to be playing who. And it's just great that the league's been so competitive that we're having these discussions around, will he go strong? And the way the fixtures have panned out as well, it's come to a climax for the league fixtures, which is exactly what you want, and it's exactly how you grow the game, because people take more interest rather than go, we'll switch off for the final 3-4 games of the season because we know what the semis are going to be.
Yeah, it was Sarries, Loughborough, Harlequins was, wasn't it? That's been the general pattern for the last few years. But yeah, couldn't agree with you more. So this round, hugely anticipated getting to that top 4, and now for these semi-finals. Come on then, ladies. Sarries against who? Who against who? Second,
Bristol.
Third.
I think Sarries.
Who are you going to face?
And we'll face Exeter.
Yeah. I don't know the maths well.
I think it's if Bristol beat Exeter,
they'll play,
and we beat Loughborough, then we could then end up having a home semi, but it would still be against Exeter.
Yeah. Oh, so many twists and turns that could happen.
Oh, do you want me to go through them?
Yeah, I think.
Seriously?
Yeah.
If
I've read
Exeter win
something.
with or without a bonus point, their bonus point is plus 97, better than Quins, so they have a home semi-final. If Harlequins win and Chiefs have won, then Quins finish third and they'll be at Sandy Park for the semi-final. If Chiefs lose, it's a straight shootout between Quins and Bristol for the home semi-final. If both Quins and Bristol acquire the same match points, both with bonus points or without, then Quins secures second based on better points difference. If Chiefs lose and Harlequins lose, Bristol have a home semi-final. Their opponents will be Chiefs unless Harlequins take 2 points from their loss, losing and try bonus point, and Chiefs get nothing.
My head hurts, Johnny.
Clear as anything.
Which is why I didn't go through it originally,
Yeah.
and I have to thank Nick Heath for that.
Yeah. All
Um,
we know is we've got to win 3 more games.
yeah, there you are. There's the line. Just 3 more wins,
Whoever it
ladies.
is, whoever it is.
Away we go. Let's get into part 2 of some international, a little bit of domestic news now, just to finish us off in this pod. In Africa, the international sevens has been going on. South Africa finished first, Madagascar in second, Tunisia third, Uganda in fourth, Kenya fifth, Zambia with 6, Senegal 9, Zimbabwe 8, Ghana 7. South Africa have qualified for the 2022 Commonwealth Games, already qualified for the 2022 Rugby World Cup Sevens as hosts. Madagascar have qualified for the 2022 Rugby World Cup Sevens. Go Madagascar.
Yeah, fantastic for them. In South Africa even, their women's Premier Division has got up and running. Western Province sit top with 2 wins against Boland Dames and the Sharks. Border Ladies have started well with 2 wins from their opening 3 games, and the Blue Bulls are also undefeated with their 2 wins. The Golden Lions find themselves at the bottom of the pile. This week, round 4, the Golden Lions face Western Province, Boland Dames head to Border Lions, and the Blue Bulls host the Sharks.
Indeed, they do. Do you want to do the French stuff, Beth?
I wouldn't want to overshadow you.
No, okay, you know,
French
fair enough.
pronunciations.
No, you embarrass everyone, even French people themselves. Round 14, the final round in France of their Elite One, resumed at the weekend. And just a reminder that Bayonne forfeited the season, as everyone's had 25-0 victories over them since December. There were wins for ASA Rugby, Stade Rennais and AC Bobogny in Pool 1. Black and Lyon in Pool 2. Of course, Lille took the W from Bayonne. So that means this weekend's quarter-finals look like this. The table toppers in Pool 1, Stade Toulousien, face Lyon. Stade Bordelais hosts Grenoble. ASA Rugby and Montpellier face off, while AC Bobogny travel to Blagnac, who finished top of Pool 2.
A star, that was, Johnny. Well done.
Oh, merci bien.
And just in the English Championships, the playoff final result, which was last Sunday, the 1st of May, Cheltenham Tigers beat Thurrock Ladies 47-10 at Newlands Park, Aylesbury RFC. So huge congratulations to Cheltenham Tigers for winning the championship.
Yeah, fair play to them. And just the historical moments just keep rolling in at the moment. At Twickenham the other weekend, Army met the Navy. A big win for the Army, 69-0. But Army have a female coach for the first time. It's the first time that female game has been played at Twickenham. It's televised and all the rest of it. Good production that was. Another historic moment. It's just great to see these things happening just virtually weekly at the moment.
Yeah, everyone's getting FOMO, aren't they? They're thinking, oh, we better do something. We better create something. We're getting left behind. But yeah, really incredible moment. Obviously, Beth Dainton and Jade Mullen, who play Harlequins, were captain and vice captain, and just spoke about how incredible the day was. All the times that they've had to play on the back pitches and had no media around it, no, collective thought with the men, and to have done last weekend is just, something that they'll cherish forever. And yeah, historic day that will continue to write in the history books from now on.
Indeed so. What a great moment to finish the pod on. We must send our best wishes to England RFU Chief Executive Bill Sweeney, recovering from an illness at the moment. So yeah, best wishes to him. Speedy recovery to you, Bill. Ladies, it's been a real pleasure to get the band back together, to get your thoughts, and to be civil towards each other. You won't be quite so civil at the weekend towards each other, will you? Or are you still nicey, big hugs?
always before the game, let the game unfold, and then same after. And I'm not on the pitch, so it'll be fine.
Don't squeeze her too hard, Berth, will you? Because she's got bad reason. Don't get your finger caught on any clothing or anything. Yeah. Jeez, look at that. Ugh, my boys are fascinated by the videos of that. Absolutely loved it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. As ever, Sunter, thank you very much for taking time out. Berth, pleasure as always. Catch up with us on social media. Any shout outs as you sort of go into your summer break and what have you? Stay in touch. We'll be here through the Women's World Cup and, of course, the 15th World Cup as well at Pod Women's Rugby. We'll see you very soon.
See you, guys.
Until next time.